This episode is brought to you by Snapple. Want to know another Snapple fact? The first hot air balloon passengers were a sheep, a duck, and a rooster. Ridiculous. Check out Snapple.com to find ridiculously flavored Snapple near you.
Want to listen to this episode ad-free? Head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and get a free trial for the ITBR professor level. And you can actually watch this episode as a video episode as well. While you're at it, did you know that on Spotify, we now have a subscription service for $10 a month? You get access to all of our ad-free episodes plus any bonus episodes. So make sure that you rate, review, and follow the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And follow Mary DePippi's show, True Crime in Academia, at True Crime in Academia. Thank you all for your support. And without further ado, here's today's episode.
Hey, true crime friends, I'm back, and welcome to another episode of True Crime in Academia. I am your host, Mary DePippi. I hope you all had a wonderful couple of weeks, certainly better than mine. If you saw on social media, I was planning on not doing an episode for Memorial Day weekend just because I wanted to relax and enjoy the weekend. I had to get ready to travel, not that week of Memorial Day, but the following week. And, I was just hoping to have a smooth week, But no. Friday, I start feeling crappy, just keep getting worse. Eventually go to urgent care. They give me an antibiotic. And I mean, to be fair, that whole week beforehand, I had just been more tired and I could feel and the pollen count has been up here. So I had been feeling like my body was reacting to things, and I was like, all right, I'll slow down in a little, but can we just get through this? So of course not. And Friday came around, and then, like I said, Saturday I went to the urgent care, and they said it was a sinus infection, so they gave me an antibiotic. And then maybe after 4 days of the antibiotic and just literally not feeling any better. If anything, there were times I was I felt worse. So went back to the urgent care. As you can hear, I'm still sniffling. And then went back to a different urgent care because I was fed up with the first one to begin with for a whole other set of reasons, but I'm not going to air out my grievances about that here. But let's just say there was a problem. And because of that, I went to an urgent care associated with my primary care doctor. And then they were like, well, it's just upper respiratory. It's probably viral since the antibiotic's not helping, which again makes sense. But then there was really nothing they could do to help me. So I kind of just had to keep chucking along and just trying to, get all of this grossness out of myself. So that was miserable. I think my fever finally broke Thursday. The Thursday before I had to leave, we were leaving on Sunday for our work trip. And so, of course, those few days that I actually was feeling better, I was doing all my running around, getting packed and all of that stuff. And then we had the work trip. I felt okay for the most part. Granted, we were in California, so that could have been why, just with the air pollen count. I don't know. I seemed to be feeling better when I was there. There were times where I really didn't feel like I had to be taking medicine all the time. Then I come back, I have a great 2 days, and now like my ears are filled with fluid. So, I was just dealing with that all last week, still dealing with it now, not really sure what's going on, but I don't feel any worse, so I'm kind of like, just as long as I can keep the symptoms managed, maybe I'll be okay. We'll see. I don't freaking know anymore, but for the most part, I am feeling better. It's just those couple of things, but good freaking grief. So it's been a lot. I also started teaching yoga last week, or this week. So it is, just a lot of good things that are happening. It's just, well, the work trip was cool and whatnot, but and that, it's just, I wish my body would just get better so I can really enjoy some of these things, But anyway, that's enough of me. Also, because of all of that, I do not have a news update for you guys. I'm sorry. But this week's case it's a 2-part series for this week and next week. We are covering the murder of Reena Virk, a 14-year-old British Columbia student who attended the Shoreline School. She was murdered in 1997, and her murder is featured in this adaptation of the book Under the Bridge that was written by Rebecca Godfrey, who was investigating, as an author, an investigative journalist, on her own, Reena's case. I believe it's also based off of one of her parents' books. I thought initially that the Hulu series said it was her mother, Suman Virk's book. But then I saw somewhere else that her father had written a book. I'm not sure if that's what they used or if they used both or what the case was. But her mother's obviously, like I said, just stood out to me. So I'm personally considering it to be a fairly reliable source. By fairly, I mean that, it's based off of these books. And we know that Hollywood exaggerates and changes things as they want to. I don't think they strayed too far away from everything based off of the other sources that I looked at for this, but it was an absolutely excellent series for anyone interested in watching it. It's on Hulu. It stars Riley Keough and Lily Gladstone. They are incredible. They deserve all of the awards, all of the accolades, all of the things, because they are just absolute geniuses in this. So that is my piece on my recommendation for going out and watching this series. Of course, after you listen to this podcast, of course. We're just going to take a quick little break, and when we get back, we will get into part 1 of the murder of Reena Virk.
Are you looking for a new magazine to read where you can get so many book, film, and TV recommendations? Well, then you need to check out the Gay and Lesbian Review. The G&LR is a bi-monthly magazine of history, culture, and politics that publishes essays in a wide range of disciplines, as well as a slew of reviews of books, plays, and movies, and a number of special features. Each issue brings you consistently intelligent, lively, thought-provoking articles focused on a unifying theme. So, for example, their new issue for May and June is called The Celluloid Fishbowl. And it's a nod to Vito Russo's 1981 book called The Celluloid Closet, which documented the flashes of LGBT content in movies before Stonewall, when such content was strictly forbidden. So there's so many exciting articles in the May and June issue, including one by Andrew White called Queer Ghosts on Oscar Night, that covers so many different LGBTQ films, both when the characters come out of the closet and what happens when characters are already openly queer and they don't need to come out of the closet. like we're seeing with so much of TV and film and literature right now. There's also an article by Andrew Holleran, the acclaimed writer of Dancer from the Dance, who actually reviews All of Us Strangers, which I can't wait to watch and has been much talked about. So please make sure that you use the Ivory Tower Boiler Room code ITBR50 when you go on glreview.org. You'll see on the right side it says subscribe. You can either subscribe for their digital edition, or if you're like me, I like to still get the magazine delivered as a print magazine. There's nothing just like having a print magazine in front of you. So use ITBR50 to get 50% off of your G&LR subscription. Yes, that's 50% off. So enjoy your reading. And please, if you are subscribing to the Gay and Lesbian Review, and if there's an article you really enjoyed, or a review you really liked, or a guest that you really want me to interview from the Gay and Lesbian Review, make sure that you DM me at Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Happy reading, everyone. And thank you to the Gay and Lesbian Review for their sponsorship.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Spring has sprung here on Long Island, and I'm excited to talk about the Soapbox NY, a bath and body boutique located in historic Port Jefferson Village. My good friend Janine Cucci co-owns the Soapbox NY. Not only has she been on the Ivory Tower Boiler Room podcast, but she's also been on my good friend Christian Garcia's podcast. So she gave me a special spring scent from her blending bar. You might ask, Andrew, what is the blending bar? Well, it's what makes the Soapbox NY so unique, in my opinion. They have over 200 essential oils that can be made into shower gel, bubble baths, shampoo, body lotion, an essential oil roller, or even perfume. So the first scent that I want to highlight is called Peony Blush Suede, an exquisite floral with delicate rose and honey accents and a subtle green freshness. The second is Mimosa and Tonka with notes of sweet golden mimosa mixed with creamy Tonka bean. And the third is Spring Musk, green and fresh with notes of bergamot, orange blossom, and neroli, a clean and fresh musk. So head over to soapboxny.com to place your order. Make sure you follow the Soapbox NY on Instagram, where you also could DM Janine with any questions. And make sure you tell her that Andrew from Ivory Tower Boiler Room sent you. You've all heard me gush about Mandy Made It. Mandy Made It is a craft business, and it's actually owned by my friend Mandy Bengal, who I have known, married to Pippi has known. We all actually became best friends in Main Stage Center for the Arts summer theater camp. So I'm so proud of Mandy. First, she has an arts festival coming up on April 28th. It's called the Gloucester Township Arts Market and Green Fair. There are going to be art vendors, craft vendors, including Mandy, food trucks. It sounds so much fun. I actually am thinking maybe I'm going to attend. So it's in South Jersey, and it's April 28th, a Sunday from 10 to 3 p.m. So go over to @MandyMadeIt to find out more information about how you can attend the festival. And please, if you see Mandy, say, oh, I listened to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and that's how I know about your crochet company. So she makes so many wonderful items, especially because we're in the spring into summer. I know that she makes beautiful spring flowers that she crochets. She's made wonderful Pokemon inspired items. I know that my boyfriend, loves Pokemon Go, so this is a great item for him. I actually got my boyfriend a Mandy Made It Scream Ghost Face bouquet for Valentine's Day. He loved it. She makes wonderful Disney-inspired items. She made me a Hocus Pocus bed and breakfast item, Snow White and the Evil Queen's poisoned apple item. I know she's made Married to Pippi so many true crime items. We're in talks right now to have her make some ivory tower boiler room crochet items. Make sure that you reach out to Mandy Made It. Let her know that you heard this ad on the ivory tower boiler room. She loves knowing that you're listening to her ad on the podcast, and also she'll give you an exclusive item at Mandy Made It on Instagram and Facebook.
Reena Virk was born on March 10th, 1983, to parents Manjeet and Suman Virk in Saanich, British Columbia. She was the oldest of their 3 children, I think. This is one of those facts that I couldn't really verify, but it was in the Hulu series. And based off of aside from Rebecca Godfrey's Under the Bridge and I think her mother's book or her father's book, I believe it might be accurate. But yeah, so I think she was the oldest of their 3 kids. Now, the Virks were Jehovah's Witnesses. They had converted from Hinduism, and they raised their children in this strict religion. And this was said to have caused some issues between Reena and her parents, especially in her early teen years. Reena often felt like an outsider amongst her peers and had a really hard time making friends. She was often bullied in school. Classmates would spit their gum in her hair and would make fun of her for her weight. Between her strained relationship with her parents and the bullying she faced at school, Reena would sometimes run away from home from time to time. And in general, she was just desperate to fit in and find friendship and, be freer, because again, she has this very strict religious upbringing at home. Her parents, from what it seems like they are good people. It's just because they follow these very strict rules, it's something I think that puts also a strain and is like another reason why she's being made fun of and stuff like that. One day, it would seem that Reena would get a chance at friendship when she meets this group of teenagers that are smoking at this local park. Among the group of teens, Reena is drawn to one girl in particular, Josephine Bell. Now, that is not her real name. That's the name she's given in the documentary, or not the documentary, but in the Hulu series Under the Bridge. But I did see something about, because the author did write an article for Vice that is referenced in this, in the show notes. And in her article, there was something about her name needing to be changed to that alias to comply with a court-ordered publication ban. So it is in one of my sources, her real name, if you really want to know. But just in case, we're just going to continue to call her Josephine, even though we know that's just an alias and not her real name. Now, Josephine was confident and charismatic, and she really, she just had an energy about her that the people she was hanging out with wanted to idolize her or follow her, things like that, do things for her, stuff like that. Now, she boasted to Reena about how she would steal cars and date members of the Crips. She also would tell her how she idolized John Gotti and dreamed about becoming the first female hitman for the mob. Sadly, though, Josephine was also a ward of the state, and she lived at a local group home with a few of Reena's other new friends. Now, Reena's behavior started to change the more she hung out with this group, which, aside from Josephine and a few other friends from, like I said, the group home, there was also her best friend, Kelly Ellard, which we're going to hold on to. Just remember her name. Reena had started rebelling. She was smoking pot and cigarettes and drinking alcohol from time to time. Now, things took a turn for the worse when Reena, wanting more freedom, decided that she would make a false report against her father to Child Protective Services. Her new friends had convinced her that being in the foster care system could bring about this more freedom and a better life for her, away from, her strict parents. So, sadly, Reena falsely accuses her father of molesting her. He is then arrested and she is put under the care of the province. And eventually does live with her grandparents for a short time, but she does drop the charges and eventually does return home. Obviously, what she did is not right. But I do just want to remind everyone kind of this mindset that she is in and like where her head is at. She has been bullied and she now has these friends and they're telling her that, she can get away from her parents and, her life that she doesn't like. And it could all be better if she just does this. And again, like maybe you think it seems like common sense, but for her, I feel like she's very vulnerable and impressionable in this moment. And that's why I think ultimately she does it. But I think a true testament of her character is that she does eventually, like, it eats away at her and she does drop the charges. And also, just a reminder, she's also 14 years old.
Sorry for the interruption, but this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and I have to talk to you all about the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Yes, you might be saying, but wait, aren't I listening to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room? You are. You're listening to the podcast. But when I'm not here in the podcast space, I'm actually consulting. So I have small businesses that I help consult with their social media marketing plan. I help fellow podcasters or those who are looking to go into podcasting. And I've also just met with a client, and I can't wait for her podcast to come out. So I've also helped those in the college admission process with their essay editing. I helped someone on her thesis and actually edited and helped consult her all the way through her thesis. I'll help you with your dissertation since I just got done my dissertation last summer. So you can reach out to me at ivorytowerboilerroom@gmail.com. Yes, I monitor my email every day. My first hour consultation is done virtually usually, and it's $30 for the first hour, and then we'll figure out what plan will work for you. So again, you can reach out to me via email, or you can also look me up on Google, Ivory Tower Boiler Room. You'll see my cell phone number there. Please do feel free to call me or DM me on Ivory Tower Boiler Room's Instagram. You've heard me gush over my friend Christian Garcia's podcast called That Old Gay Classic Cinema. Yes, Christian Garcia, who hosts the Smash Rewatch podcast series with me. Remember Smash, where they're putting on a Marilyn Monroe Broadway musical called Bombshell? Well, make sure you listen to our podcast series. His podcast is called That Old Gay Classic Cinema, and it is definitely meant for all of those Turner Classic Movie lovers. So he looks at classic films with a queer lens. So think of him as a queer cinema professor of sorts. He actually had on co-owner of the Soapbox NY, Janine Cucci, to talk about Sunset Boulevard, which the three of us are just obsessed with Sunset Boulevard, and we can't wait for Nicole Scherzinger to be in the revival of Sunset Boulevard on Broadway. He also has episodes about Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Strangers on a Train. Now that definitely is a queer homoerotic film. The Philadelphia Story, Meet Me in St. Louis, Beauty and the Beast, Sweet Charity, Psycho, Mary Poppins, Hello Dolly, The Wizard of Oz, Vertigo, which I actually was on, and 101 Dalmatians, and the list can go on and on and on. So make sure that you listen to That Old Gay Classic Cinema wherever you get podcasts, like Spotify or Apple. Follow Christian on Instagram at That Old Gay Classic Cinema, and he also has a TikTok. And please make sure that you reach out to him and let him know that you heard this ad on the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Happy podcast listening.
Reena eventually grew to despise her new friends. And under the bridge, it seems like they were icing her out and that she was being bullied all over again. Also, I'm sure with all the drama with her parents and the false allegations, that probably didn't help anything either. Now, she somehow managed to get a hold of Josephine's journal, and she used the information to contact several boys, I'm guessing ones that Josephine mentioned that she liked, and spread rumors about her. Reena stated she didn't think that Josephine was as pretty, and that she had fake eyebrows, and that she even had AIDS. Yeah. Not great. Not great. Now, obviously, this upset Josephine, and she eventually did uncover that Reena was the origin of all the rumors about her. So, she went to her best friend, Kelly Ellard. She's back again. And they went to come up with a plan to make Reena pay at the next Friday night gathering that was normally out by the school, Shoreline School, that they went to. On November 14th, 1997, Josephine, Kelly, and her other friends lured Reena away from the gathering to a spot under the Craigflower Bridge. Josephine took her lit cigarette and put it out on Reena's forehead. Reena cried out and swung at Josephine in response, but Kelly countered and hit her with a closed fist. An all-out brawl erupted. 5 teenage girls aged 16 and younger and 1 teenage boy named Warren Golowatsky, remember his name for later, joined the attack on Reena. So again, this is like 8 people on 1 person, which is just absolutely brutal. Now, most of the students that were in the area close by to the bridge and near where they were hanging out ran away from the attack. Now, one student, a kickboxer, yelled out for everyone to stop, and thankfully it seemed like they did, and they all just dispersed. While Reena laid on the muddy ground, bleeding and crying, not one single person offered to help her. And I know, like I said, they all dispersed, but like they literally just left the immediate area, most of them. But then there were still some like lollygaggers that just watched and did nothing. Again, even though like it frustrates me, I have to understand that they are teenagers and probably some of them just didn't understand what to do, how bad it was. Like, there's so many things that could go on, and just the fact that they don't have fully formed brains, like, I think it's just so not fair to assume that they would always know what the right thing to do is, when fawn is so often a fight or flight response. So, you know, and then there's also the bystander effect. Like, there are so many things that could go on psychologically, you know, with this. So, I mean, it is frustrating that no one did anything, but also they're teenagers, at least at this point, in 1997. Reena managed to gather her strength and got herself up to make her way home across the Craigflower Bridge. Sadly, Reena Virk would never make it home that night. And it wouldn't be for another 8 days before anyone would see her again. So that is where we are going to leave off. Next week we will get into kind of what happens and the fallout and all of that. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited. Like I said, I watched the series, and Reena's story just really struck me, and I knew that I wanted to take the time to really properly dive into all of this and everything happening. Hence why there is a part 2. Do not forget to follow True Crime in Academia on social media at True Crime in Academia on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, and at TC in Academia on X, formerly known as Twitter. If you would like to listen to this episode ad-free, go to patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room and become a subscriber today. All right, my loves, that is all I have for you for this week. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, I will see you later.